Violet Evergarden is all about Violet Evergarden. I know that should probably go without saying, but it's true, and the show does a fantastic job of showing that to its audience. One of the most important ways it achieves this is through its focus on the environment and on the world that surrounds Violet. And since Violet's major quest is to connect with and discover the outside world, even with only 6 episodes of the show out at this time, there are already many examples of this environmental connection at work. So that's what we're going to discuss today, because Violet Evergarden is all about connection and about discovering who we are through connecting. It is about the fact that, in order to know ourselves, we may need to look inside ourselves, but we also need to look outside, at other people, at nature, and at all of the various beautiful things that the world can share with us if we are willing and able to discover them. To begin, let us consider one of the show's opening scenes, when Violet is writing a letter to the Major and it is picked up by a gust of wind and carried out the window. Here, the emphasis is on the beauty of the world, and the bright, colorful, and polished aesthetic is likely to inspire wonder in the viewer. In doing so, it gives one the longing to go and see wondrous sights, to explore dazzling vistas, to just experience something. All of these feelings are meant to reflect the feelings that Violet herself is going to hopefully experience, or that, at least, she is going to try and appreciate throughout her journey as a doll. By imparting these feelings upon the viewer, one is immediately placed into one of the many possible mentalities that Violet may end up having. In other words, we are placed into the mindset of what we hope the future Violet will be, but what the present Violet most definitely is not. It is also important to consider the fact that the letter is addressed to the Major. Thus, it is emblematic of the Major himself, whose final words to her before they were separated included, "Live and be free." So some of his final words implored her to experience, to become something that she could not be during her time confined within the cruel and harsh system of wartime. Thus, there is an immediate connection set between the environment and the Major's final mission for her. Also, the importance of this connection with nature is evident in Violet's name itself, as she was named after the flower by the Major. And then there's Iris, as well as the Flower Kingdoms in episode 5. The anime is constantly referencing flowers, and often the flowers that it shows us are specifically purple in color. This makes it impossible to forget that flowers are emblematic of nature, and that Violet's name constantly connects her very being to nature. Keeping this in mind, it makes a lot of sense then that the natural environment often mirrors Violet's feelings. One great example of this is in episode 2, when Violet speaks to Erica, vocalizing her doubts, her wants, and why it is that she wants to be a doll. When she doubts and talks about how confused she is, it's raining. As she starts to put her question into words, the sun begins to shine through the clouds. As she says that she wants to continue with the job, light covers her face. And as Erica comes to a better understanding of who she is, and as Violet makes some sort of a genuine connection, we see the relatively clear sky and the bright town. The clouds have parted. Here it is quite clear that the environment is echoing Violet's feelings, which further solidifies her connection to the environment. Speaking of the sun, let's talk about the time of day. While this is not true in every case, Violet often ends up making connections with people during twilight, and those connections are often made stronger during the night. As twilight is a transitional period, it makes sense then that these would be transitional moments for Violet. The night, meanwhile, inherently carries a sense of the unknown, of darkness or lack of understanding. So Violet having so many of her most intimate and important conversations during the night shows that this is a risk and a challenge for her. She is reaching out into the unknown, and, so far at least, she is rewarded for her efforts, as she is then able to face the new day with a new understanding. Finally, let us consider the use of color, and how color is used to connect Violet to the environment. In the CH Postal Company, most of the curtains are green, which is the same color as the skirt of Violet's first outfit. This is a way of connecting Violet with windows. Naturally, windows show a connection with, but also a separation from, the outside world. The color of the Major's eyes also add to this, as well as the color of the gem that Violet carries with her at all times. After all, green is simply the color of Violet's desire. Importantly though, it is also the color that probably comes to mind when we think of nature. So the color green connects Violet's desires to nature and to the outside world. But there are other examples of color at work in the show. For example, in the ending, we see Violet change from green to yellow to blue to pink, from summer to fall to winter to spring. In this way, we are reminded that just like the seasons, she is changing, and that connection between her and the environment is made only more apparent. So in the end, Violet Evergarden is about the importance of looking at the world around us with fresh eyes. Perhaps it is about reminding ourselves that the world can be full of wonder, even if it can be dark and scary. Perhaps it's about the idea that introspection will not necessarily fix the things we don't like about ourselves, even if it can help. Perhaps it's about our need to also look outward, and the connection we share with the land and sights around us, and how that connection informs who we are and our understanding of ourselves.